Greetings, diners, and welcome to the special Kickoff edition of the Collapse Morning Wake Up Call here on the Doomstead Diner. And I'm not talking about the kickoff of the Super Bowl, which is ongoing as I speak. Okay? But I can't watch it because you have to have a cable news or cable provider that carries Fox in order to get it for free. And I'm sure as fuck not going to pay to watch the Super Bowl. I haven't watched one in 20 years, probably. Maybe more than that. And I haven't even watched a pro football game except for going to bars and so forth. Where one was on, and then I'd glance up at it, and I didn't know any of the players or cared one way or the other what team was winning, and it just all looked so sterile too, with AstroTurf and whatnot. So I lost interest in football a long time ago, and in fact, almost all professional sports. If not all of them, have no interest for me. But when I was young, when I first returned from Brazil in the 1960s, I was a big sports fan. And it was the heyday of sports in New York, in my opinion. Of course, other people of different age ranges think other things. People who were born earlier than me think it was in the 1950s with the Brooklyn Dodgers and Yankees rivalry and all that sort of stuff. But anyway, so I was not going to be dissuaded, though. When I did return from Brazil, one of the very first football games that I saw at that time was the Super Bowl, the first Super Bowl between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers were in the older NFL league, and the Kansas City Chiefs were in the newer American Football League. These eventually merged, and now you have the American Football Conference and the National Football Conference, and so forth and so on. And teams have changed between sides, and teams have moved from one city to another, and new teams have been made, and so forth and so on. So I don't know who the fuck is who anymore, and I don't care. But a very large portion of the American population right now is tuned in and utterly transfixed by what is going on in the Super Bowl. They're having Super Bowl parties and and a few very well-to-do people are actually at the game. 65,000 people, I think, can be seated in that stadium, which is in Miami, I believe, which is soon to be flooded. And, it generates a huge amount of revenue for television networks, for the NFL itself, and so forth and so on. The more people you can get viewing your stuff, the more money you make. Okay? Which is why I make nothing doing the diner. A couple of hundred viewers does not pay the bills. At any rate. In prepping for this, I had to think about what I would have for brunch today, okay? And, I toyed with all sorts of possibilities, And but what I came down to was I should eat what I would eat at the ballpark when I went to see a game. Now, I did not go to too many football games. They were too expensive, okay? I think maybe I went to 2 pro football games in my life. Giants or Jets games, I don't know. But I went to a lot of baseball games. Baseball games were cheap, especially if you sat up in the bleachers. And actually, a few times at Shea Stadium, I climbed the fence and went in that way. Got in for free. But sports back then was, it was certainly professional, but it was nothing like it was today. If you watch this video on this one, the bonus that these guys got for playing this game, the big bonus, which was like huge and everything, $10,000. That is chump change today for a player. Okay, forget going to the Super Bowl. So there's inflation in there, but it's really the widening scope of this type of bread and circuses that has expanded and inflated the salaries and the bonuses and the profits that the owners make and so forth for these things. And that's why, and there's also prestige, and that's why you see the people who own the high-tech companies and so forth, they go out and buy football teams, all right? Because that gives them more prestige to own a football team. And I'm surprised Donald Dietrich or Brovetsky never bought himself a major league team of some type, football, basketball, whatever. But anyway, just thinking back and go back to the memories and, how different it was. It's so money now. But, in my youth, there was still competitiveness and, and realness. And I remember Joe Namath for the Jets and how real he was. And, one of the beginning superstars, though, of that genre of football player and so forth. And a real womanizer, of course. Then the New York Knicks, who I can't say enough about how great that team was back in the 60s. Willis Reed and Walt Frazier and Dave DeBusschere, and of course Bill Bradley, who went on to become the New Jersey State Senator, yes? Even back then, fame and being out in the public eye was an important aspect of getting yourself elected to a high public office. I don't think Bill ever ran for president. But as opposed to the Donald, Bill Bradley actually was a very well-educated guy. He was a Rhodes Scholar and was not just an athlete. And Donald Trump isn't an athlete. He isn't an intellectual. He's nothing but a fucking fat, orange-haired liar. Okay? And this is the guy we're stuck with as president. Bring back fucking Bill Bradley, okay? Or anybody else. So what's the meal for today? What I ate at the ballpark, right? And it's a hot dog, a hamburger, and this is a lot thicker hamburger and juicier than the one that you got at the concession stand in the at the ballpark. But it still looks like the same hamburger. Okay, I used a cheap bun. I didn't use a Kaiser roll or anything like that. The same kind of buns they used in the ballpark. And then French fries. Okay? Gotta have those. And notice today I'm serving it on paper plates instead of my usual fine china. And then to wash it all down with, gotta have beer. Alright? And now this beer, the Schutz, is way better than the fucking Miller and Budweiser shit that you got at the ballpark in those days. Alright? Just no comparison. And you notice the top is still on because I haven't cracked it yet because I'm not ready to eat yet. I'm doing the show. Alright? So we got the Schutz, and then the ketchup that we're using, Hunt's or Heinz, okay, and Gulden's mustard, all right, for the hot dog. And that's the way I ate my hot dog and hamburger at the ballpark. Just mustard on the hot dog, ketchup on the hamburger. No cheese, no relish, none of that other stuff. Because it got too messy. All right? It was, just the hamburger with the ketchup. Take it and bite it. Now, today, I can't eat it that way. I'm going to cut it up and eat it. But in those days, I could. All right? And similarly with the hot dog. Okay? I'd love a chili dog. I'd really love to make a chili dog. And I have chili in the fridge that I could heat it up and put on here. But, no. The way I ate it at the ballpark was just with the mustard. And that was it. And on the potatoes, sometimes I would put the ketchup on them, and other times I would have them with just salt. All right? But, it's all according to taste. And, these fries, they look different, of course. Aren't they nice and golden brown and whatnot? And but they do have the skin on them, because I don't peel my potatoes before I fry them. All right? I like the skin fried. And of course, you always get those. And they're thicker and heavier. They're more like steak fries, somewhere in between steak fries and French fries, which is how I like my potatoes. And or fried potatoes. And there are secrets, important secrets, to making your French fries crispy on the outside and fluffy soft on the inside. And one of these days I'll reveal them, but not today. Anyway, so we're going to move through the rest of the week here on the Doomstead Diner, covering a lot of aspects of Collapse and our history on the diner over the last 8 years. And next week, hopefully, if I can get the editing done, because the interview's already done, we're going to have an interview with a fascinating man, a PhD in chemical physics and a longtime financial analyst and a longtime good friend of mine from the Collapse milieu. He's been involved pretty much the same amount of time as me, last decade to 12 years, since the 2007-2008 crisis, financial crisis. And both of us are finance oriented, and so we have a lot in common in that way. And the interview was excellent. All right, and you can try and guess who it is, but I'm not going to tell you today. I'll let you wait until next week, or it might be the week after. I'm sorry, if I can't get it edited, it'll be the week after. We'll see. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the big game if you're watching it. I hope you eat well. Hope you're still employed. Hope you still got a roof over your head. Hope the oceans haven't rolled over your front lawn, etc., etc., etc. And that's all the doom. This time, until next time. Hasta la hot dog.